What's up, and welcome to the very first episode of Why Are You a Gamer? I'm so excited to do this show because this is my chance to get to know the gaming community one-on-one. Each and every other Monday, a new episode goes live as I try to discover why we play video games. I mean, if you can, of course, find this show on your podcast platform of choice. And oh, yeah, if you're using Apple Podcasts, please give me a 5-star rating and let me know how I'm doing in the comments. So, like I said, this is the first episode. And I couldn't think of anyone else to have on my first episode. So for the inaugural episode, I'm joined by somebody I've known for nearly a decade. We spent countless of hours gaming together. He's my co-host on Rogue Agents, a Division 2 podcast, and co-creator of Media Junkie, my best friend and best man, Mr. Wes himself. What's up, man?
Hey, man, how are you? What a beautiful intro.
Man, I was really hoping you enjoyed that.
I
felt like I took you on a journey.
I'm like weeping over here.
That was my goal.
People don't use the word weeping enough. I'm into that.
You know, weeping willows. Weird tree, you know?
One of the best trees. Is this a tree podcast or a gaming podcast?
Welcome to trees.
The arborist podcast.
That's the word I was looking for, but I just said trees. You're much more intelligent than I am, man. So I know you very well. I know your ins and outs, but the listeners may not know you. So I just want you to kind of give me like an elevator pitch on who Wes is, outside of gaming, of course.
All right, yeah, who Wes is. So I'm a big gamer, but this is gonna be outside of gaming. We'll get into the gaming here in just a moment. I am 32 years old, which is exciting. I feel old. I feel it in my bones already. I have a beautiful family who I care so much about, and they're the reasons that I do everything, and I can't wait to experience games with them in the future.
Sounds awesome. So, family man, gamer, old guy. Gotcha.
You got it. I like Mexican food and huge in the Chinese food.
I wasn't expecting to taste the food, but very global. I like that. So that was just a rough way, kind of like an icebreaker to give you an idea of like how weird this is going to be of me just asking you questions. So let's just start off with like this section. I'm just like, who are you like as a gamer? And, you know, we know who you are now outside of that. Old man that likes his family and Mexican food, Asian as well. But this is probably the most important question, and I put this one first. What is your platform of choice, Wes? I know the answer. Tell the people. I hope I know the answer.
You do know the answer. So the go about the platform of choice is kind of interesting because it changes every single generation. It seems like it's one console, then another console, the second generation, third generation is another console. But right now, in the current generation, hands down, the best system on the market is the PlayStation 4. So that's my platform of choice.
My man, I didn't tell you I was going to be keeping score, but so far you're 1 for 1, doing good.
Well, I mean, I'm a huge retro gamer, so I see myself playing a lot of older consoles still to this day. So if it's current gen, it's PS4, but if I'm being honest, I play a lot of Super Nintendo, PS2, and PS1 as well.
Which is all PlayStation, which is still good. But yeah, I like this question just because it does get the discussion going. Platform of choice really is just like a kind of like at the moment, you know, right thing. Like you said, the next generation's coming up. I'm assuming I'm gonna love the PlayStation 5, but you know, Microsoft is doing some crazy shit with the Xbox. So
let's see what happens. I mean, there was that PlayStation 3 era where I thought the 360 was a better system. I know you disagree with that, but you know, there's a podcast for that.
If there was only a show that we recorded about that.
Fanboy Fight Club.
So, of course, with that like being said, like it was pretty obvious choice right now. PlayStation is the leading console. So that was an easy question. This one maybe a little bit more complicated for you. Like, what is your genre? Like, what do you go to? Like, hands down. And I know it's hard because we have retro games and there's some genres that used to exist that kind of really don't exist now. But like if you had to just make the perfect PlayStation, we'll say PlayStation 4 game and go with the genre, what would you do?
So I'm a huge fan of a good, fun gun game. Like for example, like Max Payne, Dead to Rights, Wanted, Stranglehold. I like shooting things, and I like to have I don't know, it's technology behind it. Like when Max Payne came out, I was fucking blown away by bullet time. I thought it was crazy. And then Stranglehold comes out and just one ups it. So my genre of choice is pretty much anything with a gun. Like I like Call of Duty, I like Division, first person or third person. I just like action. So I would say action, I guess.
So action shooter, first person
Yeah.
or third person. This is show. I'm not holding back, man. I'm asking the important questions because if people want to know, you have to make a choice: first person or third person.
Oh, that's tough. I was like a huge first person shooter fan back in like Modern Warfare 2 days, and like, World at War. But lately I seen myself really liking third person a lot, surprisingly. And I was never a third person shooter kind of guy. Like I liked Max Payne and Dead to Rights, stuff like that. Like one or twosies here and there, but I'm gonna have to say third person.
Nice, nice. That's I don't know why I'm like giving you this whole score, but you're 2 of 2 right now so far for me. So, you mentioned earlier you're a family man, and you're getting up there. You're about hitting 50 anytime soon now.
Soon.
So, juggling a family life and playing video games can be hard. Um, how often do you say you get a chance to game?
Well, I mentally try to play at least every other day. Now there's certain games that come out where I have to play it more consistently, like Division 2 or like Borderlands 3 or hell, even the Modern Warfare reboot that came out. Like I see myself playing those more often. But I feel bad. Like sometimes like I'll do like 3 days in a row and I'm like, man, I'm kind of ignoring my wife and ignoring my kids. I should probably hang out with them because they're all pretty cool people.
Yeah, I mean, you chose your wife and you created your kids, so I mean, you're a little biased, but yeah.
But yeah, I try to honestly do every other day. Sometimes I play more. And when I do is since I do every other day, I do long chunks of time. So I'll get on at like 9 p.m. until like 2 or 3 a.m. to kind of make up for that missed day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wake up at
Well,
6:30 and do it again.
so that's the struggle, and that's like the interesting thing because we put our bodies through, I mean, hey, it might be an addiction, but we put our bodies through a lot of stress because that enjoyment of playing video games, like you can obviously, we're not famous yet, but we can't play video games all day, you know what I mean? So like we have to play either really late or really early, and it's just kind of interesting that like maybe it's because of an addiction, but
I'm sure it is an addiction because like some of it's just like Call of Duty. You're just doing the same shit over and over and over and over. You're not experiencing a story. You're not advancing or anything like that. You're pretty much just shooting people, you know, rinse, wash, repeat. So it is an addiction, I would say.
we self-diagnosed ourselves on the first episode. We're doing good.
I'm
So,
basically a psychiatrist, so you're welcome.
and you're doing this for free. I appreciate it, man. So,
Oh no, it's
with that being
200 an
said,
hour.
oh shit. Well, let's get this over quick. No. So with that being said though, like getting, every other day, and then obviously we're playing like more recent current games. Like, is there something in your backlog? Do you have like a backlog of a shame, or do you typically just kind of play the games? If you like it, you stick with it. Like, tell me a little bit
So
about that.
yeah, if there's a game that I played that I really like Borderlands, is a great example. We had Borderlands 3 this year, about time. Jesus. If I like it, I'll chug through that game and I'll play as much as I can to beat it. But there are a bunch of games that are in my backlog, like Red Dead Redemption 2. I didn't give the time of day. I maybe put 2 hours in. I was like, okay, moving on. I got other things to play. Death Stranding, I've played one time, and I keep going back to Call of Duty every time I play. So I feel bad for Death Stranding. And I know we just picked up Mortal Kombat 11 and Resident Evil 2 remake and Anthem, and I'm hoping to play them. But honestly, I'll probably still play Modern Warfare with you guys.
That's why I like the idea of a backlog, because it's a constant reminder that like new shit is always coming out, but there's still like things that we get excited for, and then once it's
Yeah.
out, we kind of forget. But that
There's
also could
even
have something to do with that addiction.
Yeah, there's even older games. Like I was going through my game collection before I got on this, just kind of see what I have. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know I owned Epic Mickey 2. I never played that. I want to play that. So there's even like older games in my backlog.
Well, I was gonna ask another question based off the backlog, but you said Epic Mickey, so um, this is a good segue to the next question. Is there a game that you're ashamed that you love?
Um, yeah. So there are a few games that I'm ashamed that I love. So, all right. So back in the day, this is like 2001, maybe 2000, X Axis or Z Axis. I can't remember what exactly they're called. They made a Dave Mirra freestyle BMX game for PlayStation 2. Ton of fun. Super into them, super into Tony Hawk, you know. And they released an adult game called BMX Triple X. And I know that game is hot garbage, but holy shit, does it make me giggle. Like chasing down pimps and having hose right on your pegs to deliver them to a pimp is so funny to me. And I'm absolutely ashamed that I love that game, but I still own it on 2 consoles, PS2 and Xbox. Because PS2 was edited, Xbox is not. Not to be weird or anything, but I don't
Because
like my shit
Xbox is
edited.
extreme, man.
Yeah, the X's were extreme. There's a few other games too. Like 50 Cent had some shooting games that came out, and people were dogging on them, but I thought they were fucking awesome. Like those games had no right to be as good as they were.
I totally agree with you, man. That's like definitely one of those take me back moments. Anytime you hear me say, that's my nostalgia going. But man, I remember playing those games. I mean, as a young kid, I was really, a fan of 50 Cent. So him having a game, woo, I was in
Yeah,
love.
and people were dogging on him. They're like, "Why are you playing that?" I'm like, "Dude, it's fucking awesome. Like, it's so much fun. Like, get the fuck out of here." And one more, just for good measure, another game that got shit on, and I know it's not a great game, but I had fun playing it personally because it kind of reminded me of like 90s shooters. Was Duke Nukem Forever?
That one should have been the top of your list. I'm sorry.
Well, I love it. Love is a hard word. Like I love
Yeah.
Triple X. I love that 50 Cent game. I don't love Duke Nukem Forever, but I don't think it deserved to be shit on as much as it did.
That's fair. That is a fair assessment. I just could be totally down with you on the first two, and then you said that one. I was like, oh,
there
now
goes
I'm on the other
point. Minus 1 point.
But you brought up 50 Cent on this podcast, so you get honestly like a bonus, like 3 or 4 points. So you're still doing good.
I'll take it.
So because of that, I mean, you kind of did evangelize some of these games here, but is there anything that like you wish that was a game that everyone should have played? Because like a lot of times games go overlooked, i.e. 50 Cent, and then the sequel was a Blood and Sands. Those are good games.
Yeah.
So what's something that you think everyone or you wish everyone would play?
So there's a game on PS2 that I still own to this day because I thought it was so awesome, and I will literally never sell or get rid of this game. And it seems like no one's ever played this game. I know obviously people have played it, but anyone I talked to, they never played it. And it was The Punisher on PS2. And that game was fucking awesome. It's another third person shooter type game. It's brutal, it's bloody, it's intense, and you can interrogate people. Like, for example, you can grab somebody and try and get questions out of them, and you guys you shove their face into a piranha tank. Like, have you ever played it?
Dude, like as soon as you said that, I'm like, man, this is one of those like blockbuster rentals. And as you were saying it, I'm like, I remember this game vividly. What about this game am I remembering? And the first thing that came to my mind was the fucking fish tanks. Like interrogating with the problem. That's so funny, man.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that are burned in your younger brain because it was just so awesome at the time because you never experienced that. And I feel like that game has really fallen through the wayside. Like, again, I don't know many people that have played that game, and I really wish people would. It's a great topic.
I mean, that's actually a really good point considering like most of the time, because I don't know if that may have came out around the time of the movie, but I don't think it was a movie tie-in, was it?
No, it wasn't a movie tie-in. Didn't have Thomas Jane or whatever his name is in the game. It was like true to the comics.
Right. See, that's why I think maybe it was overlooked because normally movie like around that time, which we don't really get that anymore, but like the video game tie-in to a movie, it was always pretty much garbage. But like I wonder if that's why a lot of people overlooked it because they assumed it was, more of the same. That definitely was not.
Yeah, a lot of people overlook the video game movies or video games based off movies because they're normally garbage. But like The Punisher was awesome. And there's even another one, X-Men Origins Wolverine Uncaged. That game was fucking awesome. Like seriously, so good, and it was brutal. Do you remember that game?
Absolutely, man. That was like Logan, but like the game where we finally got to play as like Wolverine, and instead of doing fake slashes, we were literally fucking people up. That
Yeah,
was so dope.
you're
That
literally dicing people up, and like, remember that one guy that you punched through the helicopter window, stabbed him, and shoved his head into the helicopter blades?
yes. Oh
But
man.
but people never played that shit because they were attached to a movie, and normally they are the worst games you could possibly buy.
That is very true, man. Those are two like highly overlooked games. You did a great job on that question because I probably wouldn't have been able to come up with something as good as that. And it makes me want to play those games now. Man, we need a PlayStation 2 emulator or maybe backwards compatibility, you know?
You
PlayStation
can,
5.
you can get them on the Raspberry Pi.
Oh, good call. So this is probably a very good segue because we're talking about games that like no one ever played, but obviously both of us have played them, and I'm excited to play it now. But like, what about games? Like, give me a game. I don't want to say this. Give me a game that you like play multiple times and you kind of like tend to go back to it. So even though you've played this game over and over and over again, it still is just something like that, like an apple pie. You just can't help but to eat it. That's a
Yeah.
weird reference.
So I feel kind of bad here because we talked about this question before we started recording, and what you brought up is the perfect example, and it's the perfect game that I always go back to because I love that game. I know the ins and outs of this game, and I can get to the end in like 10 minutes because I know every single trick, and that's Super Mario World. And I
That's
hate
100 bonus points right there,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, and like I like that game so much that I know how to get to the Star World, and then I know how to get to the even harder levels from the Star World where you get play levels like Tubular and Gnarly, and they're the hardest goddamn levels you will ever play in your life, but it's so rewarding to beat them. Like that's one of the best games I think ever made.
I totally agree with you. And actually, now that you said that, I think my apple pie analogy just fits perfect for that because Super Mario World is like the sounds, the look, everything. Like you said, you just pick the game up and instantly you're just back. You know everything, right? And it's just like apple pie. Like you can smell it and you can just taste an apple pie, or you can even look at an apple pie and just know what it tastes like. So like to me, I think that's a good analogy. I'm giving myself credit for that.
Yeah, that game is the music is just so nostalgic. Like when you beat that game and that song kicks on, it's just it touches my heart, man. Like I love that game so much. It reminds me of my childhood.
It really does, man. And like if you haven't listened to like the intro or the trailer, as you will, like I mentioned playing like video games since I was like able to sit up in a chair. Funny enough, I don't know if I ever showed you this photo, but that's really how I was potty trained. My mom took a photo of me playing, on the toilet on the potty. But at that point I was playing like NES because I'm a little bit old. But Super Mario World was one of those games like I remember playing for the first time and thinking like I'm in a whole new world. Like it's just something so completely different, and just man, I just can't get over it. I'm sorry, I'm making this show about me now because you mentioned Super Mario World.
You're okay, man. It's all about, that nostalgic factor to me. I love it.
Well, speaking of nostalgia, this one is going to be probably the toughest question you answer all night or all show, I should say. Give me your top 5, or no, sorry, I said I'm going to do a number. Just give me your top games of all time, and I need you to rank them. So however many you have, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, however many you have. If you have 100, we can make this a long show, man.
Okay, I can give you 5. That's easy. So the only reason it's so easy is because I know this answer. Like I always think about top 10s, whether it be movies, music, TV shows, games. I always have a top 10 in my brain. So top games of all time, really easy. So number 1 is going to go to Conker's Bad Fur Day. Conker's Bad Fur Day is another game that was criminally underrated when it was released. And it was released so close to the end of the N64 life cycle that no one really picked it up. Plus, a lot of stores like Target and stuff like that wouldn't sell the game to kids because they had a disclaimer on the front like, hey, not for kids under the age of 17. And that is one of the funniest games I've ever played in my life. if not the funniest game I ever played in my life. And it plays so well. It plays like Banjo-Kazooie, but even better than Banjo's controls. Like the game is phenomenal. And that's the reason it still sells for $100. Number 2, we'll go to Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo. That is hands down the best beat 'em up to have ever been made, ever. That game, every single level plays so well, and every single enemy is so different, which is great. And the best thing about it, the fucking music. That game is amazing. That's another one of those games that I can always pick up and play again, too. Third, Super Mario World. We've talked about this game enough. Love this game to death. I could pick it up and play it any day. The fourth is another Super Nintendo game. If you notice, I love Super Nintendo. Is Contra 3. I love Contra 3. It's my favorite Contra to come out in the market. It's intense, and it's so fun to play. It's another game I could pick up and play every day. And my last one is a game that a lot of people didn't play. It was on PC. I actually had to download a copy of this because I couldn't find it sold in stores because it was pretty much banned everywhere. And that's Postal 2. Postal 2 is so much fun. It's the first game I've ever played where I could pee on people and I would cry for laughing so hard. Like, you can also silence your guns by sticking a cat onto your gun by shoving the barrel up its ass, and you shoot through the cat. Have you never played Postal 2?
No.
Oh my god, Gary Coleman's in the game, and it's so fucking funny. It's so good, man. It's so good. Easily top 5 for me.
I mean, it sounds incredible. I wonder if Kojima was inspired by that game with Death Stranding for the pee mechanics. Probably not.
Can you pee in that game?
I forgot it was like one time.
I mean, you could pee in Duke Nukem on, was that got Super Nintendo, PS1? I can't remember what it was out on, but you could pee, but it wouldn't show it. You'd hear the zipper and a pee, and you'd hear him go, "Oh yeah."
See, I do remember that. But yeah, in Death Stranding, you can pee. It's a weird mechanic in the game, but it's actually pretty helpful. Anyway, so I was gonna try and get a little bit serious, but now we're talking about silencing your gun with cat anus and peeing in video games. So I'll just make a hard transition here. So I feel like we got like a really good base on like who you are and what you like. So now it's time to get like real serious and figure out like what we're here for. We want to know, why are you a gamer? So like to figure that out, I'm going to ask you some psychologist type questions. And my first one, which I think is interesting, is like, what's your earliest video game memory? Like I mentioned earlier, mine sitting on the toilet trying to figure out these things and pee at the same time. So like, what's up for you, man?
This isn't the earliest memory, but when you're saying sitting on the toilet trying to figure out these things, that makes me think of when I bought the GameCube and got Sonic Adventure 2, and I didn't have enough ports on my TV in my bedroom, so I put another TV in the bathroom and plugged it in there, and I would take like hour-long shits because I'd just be playing Sonic the entire time. And you get up, and you got that ring on your ass, and your legs hurt. You're like, oh, they're numb.
Your toes are about to fall off. I know the feeling, man. It was just happened a bit ago. So go ahead.
All right. So the earliest video game memory. So I got a lot to talk about here because when I think of like video game memories, obviously I think of a lot about nostalgia. And I think a lot of like today is ruining the best thing about gaming in movies too. So the earliest video game memory I have is I was 2 years old and I was playing the first Super Mario on Nintendo. And I know the story because my dad tells me it all the time. And I actually remember it happening, which is kind of crazy because you're only 2. But I'm playing the game. I try to jump across one of the holes or whatever, and I died. And as a 2-year-old, I just yelled "damn" out loud. And I ended up getting in trouble from that. And my dad still makes fun of me to this day because, I started gaming intensely when I was young at 2. Like I could beat Super Mario at that age. And like I have 2 kids of my own now, one's 6 and one's 3. And I'm thinking none of these kids could play games like I could at the same age. Like, how did I develop that skill that young? I don't know.
That's really funny because it explains a lot. Mainly because I play a lot of Modern Warfare with you. So you say much more words than damn now, but
Well, now I'm an adult, damn it.
But man, that's a really good like point. Do you think it's just because like video games have become so complicated now, or is
Yes,
it just
hands
like
down.
video game design?
No, they've
That's
become
sad.
so complicated that you really can't start playing games until you're, 7, 8, 9, because there's so many buttons and so many combinations and so many things to do. Back when we were playing, it was one button and then another button. You walked with this one and you jumped with this one, God, I sound like I'm like my dad. Like, I had to walk uphill both ways to go to school. Back in my day, there were only 2 buttons on a controller.
But
Um,
it's true though. It's so true, man.
Yeah, and and I love games today, and I know we're gonna, I'm gonna break a little bit down of why I'm a gamer and like games today, but like kids these days, younger kids can't experience what we experienced at that age. What?
That's that's
Yeah,
heavy to be honest to me. It makes me as someone who's like ready to have a kid and working on that and knowing that like hey, you want to play this game, it's kind of a hard approach, but I mean that's why we keep those retro games around, right?
it's true. I mean, that's why I have them. I know when Christian was 2, I introduced him to Sonic, and Sonic's a little bit harder. You got that 16-bit processor in the Genesis, and teaching him how to like, duck and spin was hard, but he could move left and right and jump, and he did fine. But that's it. Luckily, I have retro games. People don't normally don't have retro games unless you're a true avid gamer and you're a fan and you collect them.
Right.
What's one thing I miss about gaming? I know at the beginning I mentioned, there's a lot of stuff that's ruining games these days, and I guess not necessarily ruining games, but ruining the experiences. And it's
What's
a few
that?
things. A few things. One is renting games. I miss the old days of not having everything so easily attainable to me and going to the store and renting a game for a weekend and just looking at the covers. And you had no idea if that game was going to be a good game. You had no idea if it was going to be a bad game. Sometimes you rented a fucking bad game and you were stuck
No,
with it for a weekend.
that
Did,
was it. That's your game now for the
did,
weekend.
did you stop playing it? No, you didn't stop playing it. You knew it was shit, but you rented it and you had nothing else to play. But I miss that. There's so much information, everything's so easily attainable. I miss just cruising through the cover arts, looking at the back of the box, and renting a game and experiencing it for that weekend. I miss that.
Man, I totally agree with you. And another thing, even on top of that, is renting the games and then on the car ride home, you open up and watch like read the manual.
Yes.
Dude, oh my god, man.
Yeah. I vividly remember renting DuckTales and reading that book on the way home. I was always pissed when I rented a game that didn't have the book.
Yeah, he'd be like, "What kind of shit is this, man?"
Who rented this game last? Please tell me, because I'm going to their house tonight.
They will die.
Another thing that I really miss is Game Genie and like cheat guides, like going to a grocery store and getting a new cheat book. Like I miss those old school days where you could just alter the game and be God in the games. Like games these days really don't have any cheat codes. And it's kind of a bummer, because when you were done with the game, it was just kind of fun to enter all those codes in and get like, oh, big wacky head or some stupid shit like that. I miss that a lot.
Yeah, man, that this you're just like killing it right now, to be honest. But you're bringing up all these memories. Um, I would go to the library and they would have the books there, and instead of renting the books or loaning the books, I would go with paper and just write down all the cheats on a notebook paper and take that home. I definitely remember doing that so many times for like Grand Theft Auto. And then if you
Yeah.
mess up, I'm like, fuck, now I gotta go back to the library, rewrite it down. I could have just taken the game or taken the book out, but I don't know. I was a dumb kid.
And then the internet came out and I had cheatcodecc.com and I would just go there and get the codes, which was great. But I just miss getting that book, or like the tips and
Yeah,
tricks books that taught you how to beat certain levels or certain stages, or where to find a hidden wall that you didn't know what was there. I miss gaming magazines in general. Like I know there's still some that are out
Game
there, like
Informer.
Game Informer, but like, why do you need it? you have the internet, IGN or any other website that you actively cruise gives you all that information the exact time that it's ever mentioned. So the magazines aren't really needed. What I mean by like I miss gaming magazines like Game Pro and EGM and the Nintendo Power is like I miss discovering a game was being made by like going to the grocery store or a convenience store, looking at the magazines, and on the cover was a brand new Mortal Kombat that you had no idea that was being made. Or you're flipping through the magazines and you're like, holy shit, they're making a Tony Hawk 3 or a Tony Hawk 2 because you didn't have the internet at the time to tell you that stuff.
Yeah, man. We lived like parallel lives, to be honest, man. We should have been best friends a long time ago, but it's the same thing. Like I vividly remember seeing and that they were making a Tekken 2 and it was in the PlayStation magazine. I'm like, wait a minute, what? When is this coming out? And that was all the information you got. There was no like follow up, you know what I mean? You just had to like keep an eye out, you know, like
yeah.
Amazing times, man.
Or back in the old school days of PS2 when you get the PlayStation magazine and it came with that amazing demo disc.
Demo disc in general.
I still have some of the demo discs because I love them. There's certain times you get that demo disc. Like a great example is PlayStation 1. I got a demo disc and it had Paw Rapper the Rapper on it. It only had the first stage of Paw Rapper the Rapper, but I played that demo disc more than I played some games.
Dude, for me, Pizza Hut. I know you remember the Pizza Hut demo disc? Yes. Tony Hawk's. Dude, before we got that game, me and my cousins would play that. Just the first map, I think it was the warehouse or whatever. We would go the hangar. We would go so hard on that demo, man. Like when the original game came out, we still only played that level. Those are great times. That's definitely a great time.
You don't have that anymore. And games are great today. Like we're going to talk about that. They're great today. I don't know how they could be any better, but I miss the experience of that. And like, I just don't like everything at my fingertips. Same thing for movies. You know, you go see a movie in theaters back in the 90s and you'd be like, oh my God, this movie looks awesome. They made a sequel to that? I had no idea. Now, you know before the movies are even announced.
It's true. And you get like a trailer that shows you everything. So it's like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, this almost kind of ties in because I mean, I myself got a little emotional in there, but my next question was going to be, is there a time when like a video game impacted you like emotionally? And this can be whether, you know, as a young kid or, you know, as now recently.
Yeah. So there's been one game that I can think of, and I'm sure there's been some as I was a kid, and I can't really think of them. I think Max Payne fucked me up when I had to follow the blood trail of like the screaming baby. But one game, well, there it is, bonus points. One game really fucked me up emotionally, and that was Last of Us. So the first 10 minutes of that game, I still think are a perfect representation of what games should be. The gameplay, the way the story unfolds, and the emotional impact of those first 10 minutes is out of this world. And I've yet to experience a game to have an opening like that game had. And it fucked me up so bad, especially as a father, that I fucking cried at the beginning of that game.
I'm not gonna lie, when you said that, I was really kind of curious, like what was that game? Because you know I've had a lot, and I'm like I said, I don't have a kid at all, but like that was I don't want to like really go into too much detail because Last of Us, you know, remastered, and I'm sure like Last of Us 2 coming out, people are gonna play it, but like I'll just leave it at that. Like the beginning of that game, like put so much weight on me, and I think it was a perfect opening, like you said, because it set the tone for the rest of the game. And yeah, like you just mentioned it, I got chills, and I'm not gonna lie, my allergies started, you know, flaring up a little bit. So like,
yeah, it's a perfect game, and I can't wait for the second one.
Yes, we could say that. That was a really good answer. I was curious to see where you're gonna go with that. So like, I think we kind of answered this question, but I'm still gonna ask it anyways because you seem like you're just knocking these out of the park. Like, why do you play video games? Because that's what we want to know.
Yeah,
I want to know why.
Question.
Why are you a gamer?
Yeah. See what we did there. So I play games as a way to escape. Like, any more these days, games are kind of like interactive movies, and I love discovering the story and the characters and exploring the maps to find hidden things. And there's so much love and so much care when it comes into developing these games from developers on specific games. I mean, you can tell, like God of War is a great example. You can tell there was so much love for that mythology there, and so much love for that game series that when they made that fourth game, it blew me away. But I love playing it. It's just a way to escape the bullshit daily lives of bills and bad presidents and bullshit going on in the world.
I agree. That's probably going to be, I feel like, everyone's like answer, because really that to me, I think, is the idea of this show. It's just kind of show appreciation. Like, we play video games to escape, and these developers, dude, they're doing like God's work, man. They really
I
are.
also like the competitiveness. Like, we talked about it earlier. Call of Duty, you just rinse, wash, repeat, doing the same shit over and over and over. But the competitiveness makes it feel different every single time. So it's really fun. Like I just like playing games because it's fun.
There you have it. Wes is a gamer because it's fun.
No, it's the
No.
interactive experience. And I know as a kid, the reason I played games is every single one felt different, which was awesome. Like the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo, the Genesis, it's like that generation of gaming kept evolving with every single big release, and everything felt so different and everything felt new. And it was an exciting time. Now a lot of games feel kind of the same depending on what kind of genre of game you're playing. I mean, there's still stuff that comes out that's new that you never experienced before. Like I thought Last of Us, while it still had like the action platforming genre, it still felt new in certain aspects, the way it was put together and built.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. And this also just means this is my other chance of telling you to just play fucking Death Stranding, dude. I'm telling you, because it is that idea of taking something that we know, you've done it thousands of times, but it just adds something a little bit different,
Yeah. But my okay, Death Stranding. Let's talk about it for a second. My problem with Death Stranding so far is I played it for like an hour and I kept fucking falling over. That is so monotonous and annoying that I'm like, what? Just keep your goddamn balance, man.
So this isn't something I watched like kind of funny, inspiration for all of my gaming stuff. But anyways, they had like a review for it, and one of the people on the show, Andy, anyways, he mentioned that it's kind of like you get frustrated, you learn something new, right? And then you get frustrated with it, and then it clicks, and you're like, oh damn, this isn't bad anymore. But then you learn something else, and now that's frustrating. And I don't know, like, I mean, obviously you could talk about all kind of symbolisms and designs and stuff like that, but I think it is like a really good thing, or like a really good commentary on life. And maybe that's why I have a lot of attraction to the game, because it feels like you try something new, like you get a new job, and it's like the hardest thing ever until it like clicks, and you're like, this isn't an issue anymore,
Yeah.
And then you find something new in your life, and I think that game embodies that. But
You
another way to keep from falling is just hold left or L2 and R2 together while you're running at the same time.
You also basically just described the game Battletoads.
Oh God, no!
Talking about doing the same shit over and over until you get it and you figure it out.
Battletoads is like an encouragement for suicide. I'm sorry. That game was fucking ridiculous.
That's one of the games that you rent over the weekend and it fucking destroys you. You go to school on Monday, a whole new person.
You're shaking and smoking cigarettes. You're only 6 years old.
What happened to you the other day? Like, dude, level 3, the bikes, man, the walls. I was jumping and
there's so many walls.
So many fucking walls. Then they come so fast. Battletoads fucking killed me as a kid. Oh my God.
Well, I only have one more question, and I think I know the answer, but like, you're getting old, man. You're knocking on 90 like, at the age of 32.
I'm 32 going on 90.
Do you ever see yourself not playing video games?
No, I don't see myself ever like stopping playing video games. If anything, I see myself playing games more because as my kids grow up, I'm going to start introducing them to more and more of the classic Nintendo games, Super Nintendo games, Genesis games, hell, even Game Boy games. You know, I got that game. What's that Game Boy thing for Super Nintendo? I can't even think of the name of it right now.
The
Have
who?
that like the Game Boy adapter for the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah. So you could put the cartridge in the cart. I don't know the name of it,
I
but
can't
yeah,
remember.
cart
Can't
and
remember the
cart.
name of it.
We'll
Yeah.
just call it
So
cart and cart.
you know, as they get a little bit older, and I'm going to start introducing them to more and more of those games, and I'm really ecstatic to really re-experience those games in a new way through somebody, you know, and I can't wait to watch them play Turtles in Time with me and like them pick it up and we can beat that game together. And I feel like that's going to be a really special moment, something that I'll really cherish in my life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, hopefully I can have you back on the show with you and your kids because we'll be 90-year-old podcasters too, you know?
Hopefully.
So, that would be awesome. But just to like close the show out, I'm gonna have a really corny catchphrase. So bear with me. Because if you listen to Rogue Agents, I am a fan of corny catchphrases. So with that being said, this episode is coming to a close, and we now know why Wes is a gamer. Wait till next episode to find out why someone else is a gamer. Yeah. All right, I'm working on that one. That's not great. But anyways,
I dig it.
if you if you enjoyed the show, check out Media Junkie's flagship fanboy or can't even say it. Flagship show, Fanboy Fight Club, which we're about to record after this. It's basically a show where me and Wes and a couple other fans get together defending our opinion. It's the greatest thing ever. And if you're not a fan of that, you can definitely check out some wrestling stuff because maybe you're a fan of wrestling. But we have a great show called Gimmick Minute Podcast. It's an amazing show. Jason's doing some amazing things with it. He actually is doing interviews as well. It's a really fun time. I actually listened to one. Don't tell him that, but I did. And it was kind of entertaining. So check that show out. Also, me and Wes, we host together Rogue Agents, a Division 2 podcast. It's gone for right now until some cool content and stuff comes out. So we'll be back soon with that. So definitely subscribe to that show as well. But all of these shows can be found by just simply searching Media Junkie on your podcast platform of choice. And with that being said, that's out, or I'm out. I don't have anything else to say. What about US?
No, I'm good. I love games. That's a terrible way to close it out for me. Oh, God.
Hashtag I love games. Oh boy. All right, we'll work on that next week. I hope you guys have a good day, and I hope you now are happy because you know why Wes is a gamer. Boom.